Good morning. Today, I did the reading at 6:43 a.m., and that is a 1-3 energy or a 4. And today is February 24th, 2025, which is a 1-7 energy or an 8. And additionally, in the numerology, although I haven't really expounded upon how it is all done, today's reading has a number of 5s in it. So a lot of this reading will be based upon this particular energy. Today, I am using the Voyager Tarot, and I chose this deck today because we have the planetary alignment that will be taking place between now and November, where we will see, I do believe, quite a few changes. And I kind of want to bring you this reading today is Monday, Moon Day. It has a little personal feel to it, as I have some wisdom to offer, as we were previously federal employees and left after the election of Biden due to the many things that took place towards us as civil servants. So what are the beads today? Well, and again, I use malas. This is, I'm wearing 3 of them today because the energy is so profound. But I'm wearing carnelian moonstone mainly today as my protector. And moonstone is for calming. Selenite is for cleansing. Aquamarine is used for balance. Labradorite, intuition. And yellow kyanite if you need for calming. So those are some beads that you can use today to kind of help yourself get through things, because this is just really, it does feel really dark. It feels very, I've had a hard time with not having anxiety, to be honest with you. So, and I'm not one to have a lot of anxiety. As an astrologer, my chart is quite powerful. I have a lot of rulership. So, and exaltation. And when you have that, your planets behave, they act as they are intended to act. So let's go ahead and break this down. We get the Man of Cups, the surfer. This is a element of water. It relates to the 8th house Scorpio and involves the 3rd decan of Libra, the sun, as well as the first 2 decans. Oh, excuse me, it's not going to be the sun, it's going to be Jupiter. And then the first 2 decans, Mars, sun, where we're having a period of reflection, or just had one, where Mars retrograde, where in Cancer, where we went back over the details, Mars in retrograde in its house of fall. As we witness a mass planetary alignment, someone has come here to master something. Those attracted to him having large unresolved woundings, likely with him, stirring emotions. There's much rhetoric for sure, as we witness a type of grievance base that is saying these grievances make the emotional manipulation appropriate. It is being used to inspire loyalty while masking manipulation and authoritarian dictatorship. Sun is in Pisces at the cusp of the 1st house, bringing deep spiritual and emotional wisdom. Mars in Cancer, stationed yesterday, and Mercury is now separating from a trine, where our creative thinking is about to break free of the restrictions. We are in a very emotional place as we feel betrayed, learning about the depths that we needed to see and maintain a sense of balance and perspective. Our reading today has many 5s in multiple ways, which is important. So expect fireworks today is about what I'm thinking. As tensions continue to build. We witnessed a child at the Oval Office telling 47 to shut his effing mouth, that he is not the president. A slight at the center of our awareness, with Mercury separating from this Mars energy. This now leaves room for impulsive reactions. There's pathology and addiction involved, and this is for entertainment purposes only, and likely a struggle for control and dominance. The arrogance of one on ketamine and disassociated will likely be met soon with decisive actions on the part of 47, who also reduces down, interestingly, to a number 11, which is a master number, where he is feeling constrained by his circumstances and unable to openly address his perceived position. Now, he operated in shadow during the Biden administration the entire time, and is using patterns of deflection, accusations of fraud and abuse, all aimed at federal employees who has nothing to do with this. These narratives from someone on or before 2016 justifying these illegal acts being done by 4 hackers and a psychopath, leaving all of us vulnerable to further cyber attacks, as our information is no longer private and could be sold on the open market, and hackers do that. So here we go. We've got the Man of Crystals. This is going to relate to air. This is the King. Both of these are King cards. And this is our inventor. The 3rd house, or 3rd decan of the 10th house, the Sun, and the first 2 decans of the 11th house, Venus, Mercury. Aquarius, the intellectual determination of fixed air. Freedoms. Someone wants control of Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, Eagle Scouts. That's who works for your federal government. My husband worked for the federal government 36 years and was targeted during his time of service. We lived in a rural community. His job as a civil engineer was not only to provide planning, direction, and support to the forest, all things engineering, but it was also to recruit and mentor diversity candidates from Southern colleges, for which he was involved in. And during the first run, the optics were that these employees, in this sense, were doing things to undermine him, which is completely false. We're talking Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, and Eagle Scouts here. And yet, who was committing violations? It was his cabinet, making it look like it was a federal thing, and it is not a federal thing. I can just tell you it is not. So this optic has been designed, and now let's just go down the rabbit hole. You're supposed to write a letter once a week and justify your job and your position or be terminated. It's like being put on probation. You must report weekly to Doge to keep your job, creating further hostility in the work environment. As I said, my husband of 36 years of service as a civil engineer, recruiting engineers and mentoring them to fulfill the federal government's diversity, equity, and equality positions. We were basically being threatened and abused back then in a rural community. Now, because of his position and the authority he had on so many at the time, how this manifested was that I was the one being threatened and not him. I was being asked on a regular basis to meet at the Hanging Tree. In fact, we had a place called the Hanging Tree. How racist, right? To be beat up on a regular basis. And likely because I have 2 children that were half Black, and I represent something that this little community really quite disrespects, and that is people of color and marginalized communities. The federal employees, I want to talk about this. When they receive direction, regardless of who the president is, they shift what they do to essentially stay in compliance with whoever their boss is. And when 45 became the boss during that election cycle, federal employees shift their priorities to meet the desired pivotal positions of their leadership, which would be the president. We are barred through the Hatch Act of being a political influence at all as federal families and employees. To be a federal employee requires that we report annually that we are in compliance with the Hatch Act and a number of other things. We have to report any type of financials, what we do financially, so we are not in conflict of government. And yet we watched his cabinet on a regular basis be in violation, which I think left many believing that employees were in violation as well. And right now, what we're seeing is coercion, where employees must write letters, explain themselves. Now, if we were to be in violation of the Hatch Act and the deep state, as they claim, these are suspendable and fireable offenses, and not to mention finable, $1,000 per incident. So this statement of the federal employees, Girl Scouts, Boy Scouts, and Eagle Scouts, mind you, being the deep state is truly an oxymoron. It just couldn't be any further from the truth, as we witnessed over and over again at high levels, senior staff above them, 45 staff regularly in violation of those same Hatch Acts, further creating a false image of a deep state. We left service due to ongoing shadow presence of 45 and the threats that I myself personally was facing in a rural community. I was offered to be beat up. I was offered to be hung from the tree. And this all leaves me feeling deeply concerned that we have a percentage of people who believe themselves to be superior and view people like myself and a lot of federal employees as parasites. And this is coming from the very top. And if you just do a tiny little bit of research, you will see that the false presidents whose little boy made this known to us views us as parasites. And because of that, where he's coming from needs to truly be questioned, because this is mental health we're talking about here. And to all of you federal employees, hang in there. There's going to be legislation. The stars are clear. March 20th marks something huge coming. Likely government is going to be shut down because we are not going to agree to tax reprieve for billionaires at the expense of you and I. And with that, please do like, share, and subscribe. And thank you so much for being here. Leave comments. Tell me how you're managing this dark energy these days.